The rain hit her face before the tears did. She was standing in the parking lot, soaking, badge gone, phone in her hand. And up on the third floor, through that glass window, she could still see him, laughing. Her birthday cake was still on her desk. Pink frosting, her name spelled out in those little plastic letters someone had stuck on at an angle because they ran out of space. She had $47 in her bank account, and a 7-year-old waiting at home who had no idea her mother's entire world had just collapsed in a conference room in front of 23 people who said absolutely nothing. Not one person stood up. Not one person said her name. Not one person even looked at her when she walked back to her desk, picked up her bag, and left that cake sitting there untouched. And the man who had just ended her career, the man whose presentation she had written, whose ideas she had developed, whose reputation she had quietly held together for 3 years, that man was already back at his desk, unbothered, like she never existed. Like 3 years of her life meant absolutely nothing. Welcome to Echotales by Ken. Stay with me, because what happens next is going to make you feel something you weren't expecting today. And the ending? Nobody in that building saw it coming. Not even her. Before we go any further, I need you to do one thing. If you have ever worked somewhere that took everything from you, your time, your energy, your ideas, and then one day looked at you like you were replaceable, drop a 1 in the comments right now, because this story was made for you. Now let's go back, way back, before the parking lot, before the rain, before any of this, because you need to understand who she was before that moment, where she came from, what it actually cost her to get inside that building in the first place. She did not grow up with money. There was no trust fund, no connections, no parent who could make a phone call and open a door. She grew up in a household where the electricity got cut twice before she turned 16, and her mother worked 2 jobs and still came home and cooked dinner, because that was just what you did. She learned early that nobody was coming to save her, so she saved herself. Community college, night classes, a baby at 21 that everyone around her treated like a full stop and then a sentence. Like that was it, like that was where her story ended. She treated it like a comma. She finished her coursework with a newborn in a bouncy chair next to her laptop. She rewrote her resume 47 times. She actually counted before someone finally called her back. And when she walked into that company for her first interview, she was 23 years old, running on 4 hours of sleep, wearing a blazer she had bought from a thrift store and steamed in the bathroom the morning of. She got the job, and she worked like someone who knew exactly what it cost to get there. For the first 2 years, she kept her head down. She was not loud. She was not political. She did not play the games she watched other people play. The lunches with the right people, the strategic visibility, the careful management of who knew what about you. She just worked. Her reports were thorough in a way that made other people's reports look lazy. Her instincts about what clients actually needed were almost unsettling. She had this ability to walk into a problem and find the thing everyone else had been stepping over. Colleagues started coming to her before they went to their own managers. Senior people started forwarding her emails upward without always mentioning where the thinking had come from. She noticed. She filed it away. She kept working. And then year 3 happened, and something shifted. She started getting noticed by people above her direct manager. Not loudly, not in any way she could point to, but she would be in a meeting, and someone 3 levels above her would ask her a question directly. Or she would send an analysis and get a reply back from someone she had never spoken to saying it was exactly what they needed. It was small, but it was real. And the man above her, the one in the 3 rotating blazers who had been at that company for 11 years by coasting on exactly the right relationships. He felt it. He felt the ground shift. And he did not like it. Here is what you need to understand about men like him. They are not stupid. That is the thing people always get wrong. They are not incompetent in the obvious way. They know how to survive. They have spent years studying who to be close to, what to say, when to be visible and when to disappear. They are experts at one specific skill, and that skill is protecting their own position. He had never built a single thing from scratch, but he had kept himself employed, promoted twice, and comfortably situated for over a decade in an industry that should have passed him by years ago. And the way he had done that was by making sure nobody around him got bigger than him. When a junior person showed real promise, he managed it, gave them just enough recognition to feel seen, not enough to actually rise. When someone's idea was genuinely good, he made sure it traveled upward through him. So the credit landed on his desk, not theirs. He had done this for 11 years, and it had worked. Until her, because she was different. She was not trying to rise through him. She was not looking for his approval or his sponsorship or his blessing. She was just doing the work. And the work was so good that people were starting to go around him entirely to find her. And he could feel it happening, and he could not stop it. So he decided to remove it. The restructuring conversation started in the third quarter. The company was trimming, not in crisis. Just the kind of routine tightening that every organization does when a new fiscal year is approaching and someone in finance wants the headcount numbers to look cleaner. He volunteered her name. He told HR there was a performance alignment issue, that her work, while technically strong, was not contributing to the team's cohesion, that there had been concerns. He used that word, concerns, vague enough to mean anything, about her approach to collaboration. He said all of this in a calm, measured voice. She had the highest output rating on the team. Her last 3 client projects had come in ahead of schedule. 2 weeks before, a senior director had forwarded one of her analyses to the executive committee with the words, "This is the kind of thinking we need more of." None of it mattered. He had the relationship. She had the results. And in that company, at that moment, the relationship won. The meeting was called for a Tuesday morning. She walked in thinking it was a project update. She had her notebook. She had coffee. She sat down across from him and a woman from HR she had never spoken to before. And then she saw the envelope. She knew before he opened his mouth. She said nothing. She let him talk. She watched his face while he used all the careful, cushioned words. Restructuring, alignment, transition, best wishes for your next chapter. And she thought about how many times she had seen him use those same words on a client call to mean the opposite of what they sounded like. When he finished, she picked up the envelope. She stood up. She said thank you. And she walked out. 23 people watched it happen through the glass conference room walls. Not one person moved. She walked to her desk. She looked at the cake. She picked up her bag. She didn't take her plants. She didn't take the little frame on her desk with the picture of her daughter at the beach. She left it all there, and she walked to the elevator, through the lobby and out into the rain. She sat in her car for 46 minutes. She knew the exact number because she kept checking her phone, not for messages, just to feel like time was still moving, like the world was still going. The rain was loud on the roof of the car, and then her phone buzzed. Her daughter's school, a reminder. Science project due Thursday. Please ensure materials are gathered by Wednesday evening. She read it 3 times. And then she started the car. That night after dinner, after the science project, after her daughter was bathed and in bed and the apartment was quiet, she sat at her kitchen table and opened her laptop, not to job search, not to update her resume. She opened the folder where she kept her freelance work. The small content projects she had been doing on weekends for the past year and a half. 3 small brands, nothing impressive, barely enough to call income. She looked at every project, every result, every piece of feedback, and she started writing, not a business plan. She did not have the energy for a business plan. She just started writing down everything she knew how to do, every problem she had solved, every result she had produced. Every moment in the last 3 years where she had looked at a challenge and found the answer before anyone else in the room. She wrote for 2 hours. And when she was done, she looked at what she had written and thought, this is actually a lot. This is actually something. She did not move fast. This is not that kind of story. She did not have a dramatic pivot moment. She did not meet a mentor who changed everything. She did not get a lucky break that opened the door. She just worked every day. Quietly, carefully, she took on one more freelance client, then another. She was selective in a way that felt almost reckless given her financial situation. She turned down work that wasn't her zone, even when she needed the money. because she knew that diluting her focus would slow everything down. She moved her car payment to the last possible day every month. She cut the after-school programs. She got ruthless about her budget in a way that felt humiliating sometimes, standing in a grocery store, doing math on her phone, before putting something in the cart. Her daughter never knew. She made sure of that. Every morning her daughter went to school fed and loved and completely unaware of the tightrope her mother was walking underneath the surface of their normal-looking life. 18 months after that parking lot, she had 11 clients. 2 years in, one of those clients referred her to a company 4 times larger than anything she had worked with before. She almost said no. She sat with that email for 3 days. She almost talked herself out of it. Too big, too exposed. What if she failed publicly? What if she couldn't deliver at that scale? She said yes. And within 8 months, she had rebuilt their entire content operation from the inside out. Engagement tripled. Revenue from their digital channels climbed 62% in 2 quarters. They told 2 other companies. Those companies told 2 more. She never ran an ad. She never wrote a cold pitch. She never walked into a room she wasn't already invited into. She just delivered every single time until the work itself became the thing that opened every door. 3 years after the ring, the badge, and the birthday cake nobody touched, a journalist wrote a piece. 5 disruptive players reshaping the content industry. Her name was on that list, above companies with venture backing, above teams 10 times her size, above the exact kind of operation that the man in the 3 Blazers ran. She found out about the article the same way everyone else did. Someone sent her a link. She read it in the school pickup line, waiting for her daughter. She did not scream. She did not cry. She did not call anyone. She just sat there in the car. Same car from that parking lot. Same car she had sat in for 46 minutes in the rain. And she breathed. And when her daughter got in and asked what was for dinner, she said pasta and pulled out of the lot. She did not know he had read the article. She found out 3 weeks later. An email landed in her inbox on a Thursday afternoon. No subject line, just his name in the sender field. She stared at it on her screen for a long time. She made tea first. She washed the cup she had already washed that morning. She straightened a stack of papers that did not need straightening. Then she sat down and opened it. He wrote that he had seen what she had built. He wrote that he respected her trajectory. He used the word trajectory like he was a LinkedIn post. He wrote that his company was navigating a difficult period, that he believed, and this is a sentence that stopped her completely, that he believed there might be a mutually beneficial opportunity for the right kind of collaboration. He wanted a partnership. He needed her. She closed the laptop and went to get her daughter from a playdate. She did not reply for 9 days. What would you do with that email? Seriously, 9 days she sat with it. Would you ignore it completely? Would you reply with 2 words that made the point without making a scene? Would you forward it to every single person who watched it get walked out and said nothing? Drop your answer in the comments right now, because I genuinely want to know what you would do. And I want you to know what she actually did, because it is not what I expected. She replied, professionally, warmly, even. She told him she appreciated him reaching out. She told him she had looked at his company's current positioning, and she understood the challenges he was facing. She told him she thought there was a way she could help, not a partnership, a role, on her team, under her leadership, a salary she determined, a title that reflected the scope of the position. She was not cruel. She did not list his failures back at him. She did not mention the conference room, or the envelope, or the cake. She did not make him grovel or perform or apologize for an audience. She just offered him a chair at a table she had built from $47 and a Tuesday in the rain. And he took it. He responded within 4 hours. He took it. Someone who knew both of them. Someone who had worked alongside her in the early years and stayed in touch. Called her after they found out what had happened. And they asked her the question everyone wanted to ask. Weren't you tempted, even a little, to make it something more than that? And she was quiet for a moment. And then she said, I never wanted his chair. I just needed to prove the chair was never his to give. Read that again. She never wanted his chair. She just needed to prove the chair was never his to give. That line has stayed with me since the first time I heard this story, because it is not about revenge. It was never about revenge. It was about a woman who needed to look herself in the mirror and know, without any question, that what was taken from her was never actually his to take. The power was always hers. He just made her find it. And that is the first part of the story. But there is a second part, and it goes deeper than anything I have told you today. Because there is someone else in this story. Someone who was in that conference room the day it happened, who watched the envelope slide across the table, who said nothing, who went home that night and could not sleep. She held what she witnessed for 3 years, and then she finally talked. What she describes about what happened inside that company after she left, the culture he created, the people he went through, the way the whole thing eventually collapsed from the inside, that is next week. Subscribe right now so you do not miss it, because part 2 is the part that will make you angry in a way this one never did. And if this story hit something in you today, share it. Send it to someone who needs to hear it. Someone who is sitting in their own parking lot right now, wondering if it was ever worth it. Tell them. Keep going. The chair was never his to give.